everybody. Yesterday was the July update for Ashes of Creation, and boy did they have some great stuff to show off. It's my goal, as always, to give you guys these updates in a quick, concise format. I got my coffee here, I woke up early to try and get this out for you guys, so let's dive into it. Now the YouTube comment highlight this month was, as a crafter or artisan, will I be able to give my goods to someone else and pay them to transport it? You can see the question up on screen. And here was Steven's reply.
That's a very good question, actually. And I don't think we have talked about, since that system has had a little bit of a redesign several months ago. But yes, there is a system-driven way for players to co-op caravan trips. And essentially, you have the driver or the owner of the caravan preps the caravan for launch at the caravansary, which is the node building that launches the caravans. And he can make a selection to allow designated players or members of his party, excuse me, to reserve space within the caravan, and they may then upload their goods into the caravan at the caravansary by interfacing with the UI there. And there can even be an agreement for insurance should the caravan be destroyed. Let's say you find a driver who's run many successful missions and you're confident in their ability to deliver, you may not ask for insurance. But if this is a new person who doesn't have an established reputation on the server for being a successful caravan driver, then you can request insurance, and that's an option that the owner of the caravan has to enable. And when you interface with that UI window, there will be the amount of insurance that will be placed in escrow and given to you should the caravan not make it to its destination, or should the caravan's goods be lost. So there is mechanical systems in place to provide that type of interaction. We feel that interaction is good. It's fun. It helps encourage the social interaction that's important to an MMORPG, but also it provides an outlet for players who may not wish to actually drive a caravan or launch a caravan or own a good caravan to transport their goods, to kind of piggyback with other players as they do those things as well.
Now, I never thought I would hear the words insurance or escrow in conjunction with my MMOs. Yet here we are. Kind of just goes to show how in-depth this MMO plans to be. I can imagine that escorting caravans is almost going to be like a side job for guilds, especially because most nodes is probably going to have a predominant guild, and it might fall into their realm as far as responsibilities go to protect their caravans and make sure they get where they need to be. Now, the dev discussion this month was concerning world map discovery. They want to know if we would like a traditional MMO map or something more innovative. I saw some suggestions about having cartographers be a skill where people can create a more or less detailed map based on their skill level, which they could then sell to players to help them explore the map, which is kind of a cool idea. At a basic level, the cartographer can sell a pretty cheap map that just gives you a rough sketch of the land, but as their skill grows, they can provide you with points of interest, what mobs are around, if there's a world boss or something like that in the area. So I think it could be pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, after the routine intro stuff, they showed a video discussing some of the technical tools that they've developed and that they use to create the world, which is pretty cool to see. We got to see how they use the different layers and use different paint and textures to create the world map. It was an interesting process. We got to take a look at this statue that the community has dubbed Sand Mommy. So there's that. We got a sneak peek at one of the world bosses, see if you can spot them. And they showed off quite a bit of wildlife and mounts, including this snail horse thing. Kind of makes me uncomfortable to look at. And that noise it's making is just... Ugh.
First one here is from George Black, and they want to know about mounts. Will mobs knock back people off their mounts, or will mounted players bypass all mobs easily?
No, no. There is danger to traversing areas with enemies nearby. And there are specific abilities that knock a rider off of their mount should they venture too close to enemies.
Next up, we have a question from Zyvan and Magic Man about combat abilities. Considering the recent update we've seen to combat, has the team decided on if there will be a global cooldown or not?
That's a very good question. It was a hot topic several months ago as we've been refactoring. Um, yes, I think that we've kind of gone back and forth with this. It's something that we're going to be testing as part of Alpha 2 and combat in general, is how we surface these global cooldowns, and whether or not we categorize these GCDs across essentially different types of abilities. So I would look forward to more of our combat demonstrations in Alpha 2 to understand, what approaches we're going to take, and then offering feedback as part of those approaches from our testers is going to be very important in that decision.
And our next question is regarding animal husbandry from Ultra Red, and they want to know, will there be a cap on how many times an animal can be bred in animal husbandry?
Yes, there will be a cap, absolutely. That cap is going to be defined by both the type of animal, the quality of that animal, and for what purposes it's being used in the animal husbandry system.
And then we have Unknown One who wants to know about naval content. Will we be able to fly flags on ships such as coats of arms, indicating association to guilds, nodes, or other groups such as pirates?
That is a very interesting question. We actually are not likely going to have it be a flag-based system, but I believe there will be within our sales the opportunity to utilize unique emblems and custom images potentially for players to designate, as well as potentially some locations on the hull for names and emblems as well.
And then Nick would like to know about combat corruption. We know that party, raid, guild, ally mates can't flag against each other, but what about if one of them is a PKer? In other words, can your guildmate help you remove corruption by killing you? You're
Good
like, can I
question.
exploit this?
That is that is a very good question. We've also gone back and forth on that in the past as well. As it stands currently, yes, the affiliation between guilds or citizenships is trumped by the status condition of your corruption, and anybody can kill a corrupt player. But again, that's something that we're going to be testing as part of Alpha 2 as well. There are some different approaches that we can think about for that system and how it interfaces with our affiliation system. But it's important to note that, even if you are capable of, let's say, killing your friends, we have very unique systems in place with regards to the bounty hunter systems that locate individuals where they are on the map, and there is always going to be that tense, that anxiety, even as you're facilitating the kill from other players, that someone can drop in on you and pick up the items you may drop or kill you themselves.
And then our next question here is from Lineker asking about Alpha 2, primarily because I think a lot of content creators have been talking about this. Will Alpha 2 be feature complete before betas or launch?
Before beta, yes, the game will be feature complete before beta. That is something that is necessary. Beta really is intended to identify last minute bugs, to kind of make sure that everything is ready for launch. And it's important that all features are complete by beta 1. Yes.
But we'll be making updates to Alpha 2 while it's live to
Absolutely.
get to that point.
Alpha 2 will not be feature complete at the start of Alpha 2. There are going to be updates that are going to be incorporated as part of the Alpha 2 process, and there are going to be additional features that come online that get fleshed out between that time and beta 1. There's going to be regions of the maps that aren't going to be accessible, of course, during Alpha 2. So that is absolutely an important distinction.
Yeah, and Alpha 2 is kind of like the start of our persistent world, where you're going to The servers will be up
Absolutely.
day and
Yes.
night
And the other thing is that
until we go to
Alpha 2 will
launch, but we'll have some downtimes in between for
Of
patches and
course.
stuff, right?
Yeah, and the other thing that's important to note is that Alpha 2 will remain even post-launch as our public test server. And that's an important thing to note as well.
Our next question is from Fatal Syndicate asking about castle events. When it comes to castle nodes and castle sieges, are the weekly node events and or monthly castle sieges a guarantee? Or is it possibly that a castle siege / castle node event, I think they mean siege event, could have no challenger and therefore not take place at all?
So castle sieges are on a monthly schedule, and those sieges will always occur on the monthly schedule. Events and node-based events, those are predicated upon certain world state conditions, right? Certain world conditions being met. So it's not always guaranteed that a node is going to suffer some type of event unless a predicate for that particular event or story arc is met within the world. But castle sieges are on a regular cycle.
All right. And then our next question is from Worth asking about node leveling. When it comes to mayoral construction projects that players can bolster, how long would you say it will take players on average to fill / build up a node completely? So that's, you know,
Ooh,
from
completely.
wilderness to metropolis.
Oh, so the question is node level advancement or
Yeah.
within the level building all the buildings at that level?
I mean, I'm sure people will want answers to both of those, Stephen, if you're willing
Oh,
to
I just want to make sure
provide.
I'm giving the right answer. Okay, so we've already discussed it, and you guys, great resource to utilize is the Ashes of Creation wiki. You should go take a look at that for some of these questions because there's a lot of content there. Even if not all of it is still up to date, it is constantly kept up to date by Lex and his team. So
Yeah.
amazing job to them. A little shout out
Thank
to
you,
them.
Lex. Yes, go check out the wiki. It's amazing.
Yeah, so when we talk about what's the expected time range for node advancement, you know, it ranges from hours from a crossroads perspective to several weeks from a city, excuse me, a city to metropolis perspective. And the reason for that is, of course, you know, these are the dials in which the world advances. So we want it to be something that is both gradual, but also reflects the effort that players have to incorporate as part of getting nodes to those next stages. When we talk about what it takes to actually develop a node at a certain stage and the available progression points that node has access to, whether it's establishing embassies or relationships with the castles or reputation with other nodes so that alliances can form or trade agreements can be utilized and mayoral caravans can be kicked off, or building up certain types of player buildings so that new services can be unlocked, or developing the story arcs out so that there's hooks into the relevant POIs and dungeons nearby. You know, that is a big process. It's one thing to get a node to a certain level. It's another thing to develop the node. And I can't really give you an on average expectation because there's a lot of variables at play there. There's how many citizens does the node have attracted to it? What's the type of traffic that the node is attracting to it based on like things like its tax rates or the specialization that it's chose to spec into based on the building types it's chosen to build. All of those things are variables that can affect the average, quote unquote, average build out time of a particular node. So it's kind of difficult to give you an average when there's so many variables along those lines. But the idea is that if there is a particular project that players are interested in developing based on the node stage, that they would have the ability to complete several of those projects within a single term of a mayor. And a term of a mayor is 1 month. And that's an important heartbeat for the node's progression internally.
Last but not least, they showed off some models for the Rinkai race, which I was a fan of. I really like the Asian twist on what you would traditionally think an orc should look like. And they accidentally let the cat out of the bag concerning the Tulnar race, and we were able to pressure them into giving us a sneak peek. Drumroll, please. Behold the concept art for the Tulnar race. I'm a particular fan of the second option. I love lions. Walking around as a hulking lion tank sounds pretty sick, I'm not going to lie to you. That being said, I am going to have to reserve my final judgment until I can see the full models, just to make sure that the body matches the head as far as awesomeness goes. And that covers the update. They did let us know that next month's update will include a discussion on tanks. So if you're as excited for that as I am, stay tuned to this channel because I'm going to be releasing a speculation video soon on that topic. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, consider subscribing. If you haven't already joined the discussion on the forums, you can use my referral code to hop on and help me out a little bit. And leave a comment down below of what other Ashes of Creation topics you want to discuss. And I'll see you guys next time.